And he's just like closing his eyes and I start freaking out and I'm like, I don't know what, like, can someone tell me if this is normal? I've told 3 people now that he's acting abnormal. This is not normal for him. And he just stared at me and he looked helpless. So they pulled him back and did a CT scan right away. His forearm was very clearly broken. What's up, fam? We're back! By we, I mean me. I was gone for the weekend. I vlogged for just Jess, but Chris and I went with Gabe and Amber for her birthday on a little weekend trip.
I'm sure.
And it is Monday in our house. We're back to reality. Landen had a pretty gnarly thing happen this weekend when I was gone. Do you want to?
So my face told.
Oh, well, that's true. His fish died at school, but that's not what I was talking about. I'm talking about you. Do you want to tell the story of what happened?
I'll hold it.
I don't even know what happened. I just know that it's there.
Last weekend, I was at my grandma's house.
Don't talk like a baby.
And I was going 35 miles per hour.
No.
Why do you think you were going 35 miles an hour? That's really.
I was going so fast.
I mean,
35 miles per hour.
It's downhill, right?
Downhill.
So it could be.
He didn't stop.
Dragging 10 feet on the ground.
Not 10 feet, not 10 feet.
I was going so fast, my brakes weren't working.
Oh no.
That's why I need a new scooter.
Oh no.
When I used my feet, the whole scooter went flying in front of me.
Oh no. And then you got that and you skid across the blacktop.
A 15-second walk.
So
No, it was literally 15 seconds.
this is what happened. You want to show your arm?
And then Kyson had to get his scooter and go all the way back up the hill.
Thank you for doing that. I appreciate
And
that.
also my whole arm was bleeding.
Let me see. Can I see your arm?
It wasn't me.
Let's see. Oh my God, buddy.
And he can't bend his arm.
He can't bend his arms.
Mom, at school I had to write with only my left hand.
Did you hear that, babe? He said he had to write at school with his left hand.
Yeah, he was kind of, I was like, how'd that go? He goes, it was terrible.
I hope by tomorrow it gets better, but this is pretty gnarly. It looked, he FaceTimed me right when it happened.
I can't even bend it.
And it's pretty crazy, dude. Did your teacher ask what happened?
Ask what happened?
Yeah, did she ask what happened to your arm?
No, I just showed her and she was like,
How was the rest of your guys' weekend?
amazing.
Amazing. We've got a case of the Mondays over here, Mr.
Hold on.
Grumpy Gills.
At the mountain house, there's a zip line.
This is zip line?
Yeah, and look what happened when I was riding the zip line.
Oh, my God. You poor baby. My gosh, you guys sound like you were beat up this weekend.
Mom.
I leave for 2 days.
Mom,
What?
the weekend I was holding onto the zip line and I was going down it. I was going so fast that it made me flip back and I fell on my head
Oh.
and I couldn't think of anything.
Oh, and you were okay?
Yeah, like the zip line's right here. I flew all the way to the counter.
Oh my God.
He's about to end.
Well, I hope you were okay. How was your weekend, Missy? You didn't go to the mountain house, huh? You went with your Didi?
Uh-huh.
And how was that? Amazing? Thumbs up?
I also went to my grandma's.
Good. And how was that?
Good?
Good. Did you bust your elbow open?
No.
Did you get a scab on your face?
No.
Did you hit your head while falling backwards?
No.
Oh, we're doing good things here, okay. Well, while I was gone on my adventures, I brought you guys back some things.
Sweet.
Nothing crazy, just a couple little treats. You wanna see what I got you guys? If you don't watch my other channel, we did Universal Studios and Disneyland Kidless, which is really fun, but I couldn't bear to go there and not at least bring the kids back something, because the whole time we're just like, you see all these little kids having
Came back
fun.
with like twice as many bags.
We did, actually. It was good and bad. So, quick little Disneyland haul. I got Kyson and Kaden this little like drawing kit. Each of the boys, I actually wanted to get them cotton candy, but we didn't think that we could fit it in all of our luggage without getting all nasty and squished, because cotton candy is their favorite. I truly feel like they would have liked cotton candy more, but we just couldn't figure it out. So I got them a little Yoda Rice Krispie treat for each of them. So cute. And then I got Lilia a Wishable and a Hufflepuff book from Universal Studios, which she already, I actually already texted her that. She knows about that. Then we got Addie this princess coloring book and the little like princess crayons to go with it, as well as a little storybook thing. And then Landen also got a little RC car. So nothing crazy. It doesn't take much to make these kids happy. They love little things like this. Just put that anywhere. Okay. Caden, Kyson, Lilia.
It's heavy. I don't know what it's
Landen, Caden, Kyson, Addie, Perfect. Well, we have had an unexpected turn of events over the last 24 hours. I didn't vlog the rest of what happened yesterday, but as you can tell by the title of this video, it was terrifying, traumatizing, if you will. So yesterday it was like soon after I filmed the last clip. So I gave them all of their toys and then the kids started going off to their activities for the day. I wasn't even sure if I was gonna finish vlogging that day because we had just got back from the trip, so I was just chilling and hanging out with my babies. Lilia and Kaden went to their dance class, but Kaden only had 2 classes that day. So Lilia was still at dance. Kaden came home, and when he got home, they were like, we want to go to the park. So I was like, okay, let's go to the park. This park is an awesome park. If you've seen it in our videos, the play structures are incredible. I'll see if I can try to show kind of like where this happened and how it happened based on my understanding of it, because of course I didn't actually see it happen. I only just saw the aftermath of it. But Kyson and Kaden watched the whole thing. I was directly across with Addie on the swing. So literally I'm pushing her here and they're right here behind me. This kid thinks he is a stunt double. I'll tell you what, anyone who knows Landen knows that he is an extremely active kid. He thinks he's like a parkour artist. Like he's just always like running and jumping and doing it. Obviously, as I was just talking about in the first half of this video, like he was on his scooter and he was going like 35 miles. He says 35 miles, but he was going like really fast on his scooter downhill. Like he is the most active child, and apparently the most accident prone as well, considering this is the second time that he's broken a bone. He's always running and climbing and growing and learning how to maneuver his body. But one thing that I noticed about him is that he likes to act older than he really is. He likes to push the, well, how do I say this? He has really high confidence, which is a very good trait, I think. He's a lot of confidence in himself, but obviously that could be problematic too in some cases, such as this. So he climbed up to, I'll see if I can put a picture or something, this little thing. It's like a little play structure and you like climb up to the top of it. So this stemmed from the zip line. There's like a little zip line toy, or not toy, like play structure where you hold on to the handle and you like go across the thing. He likes using the zip line, but he's not tall enough to do it. And he doesn't like help. He doesn't like asking for help. He wants to learn how to do things himself. Over the course of living here, he has found a way to put himself on it. So he'll actually climb up on the structure that's right next to it and he'll hold on to the zip line and he'll go across. He's done this thousands of times. Hence the confidence thing. He's done this before. So he uses this play structure kind of like as a ladder to get up to that little zip line part. And I've seen him do this a million times. So he climbs up this little play structure and he jumps to grab on, not to the zip line part, but to the bar above it, thinking he's just gonna like swing. He does this all the time. So like he just swings and then he jumps down. When he went to grab the bar on the top, he, instead of like swinging and jumping down, he swung and he slipped. And when he fell, and this is maybe, I don't know, I'd say the whole structure is maybe 7 feet tall. I think I can reach it. So I think it's like 7 feet tall. So where his head was at, he would have been hanging a little bit lower, so maybe like 6 feet. Nothing too crazy. But when he slipped, the way that he slipped, he fell backwards and he hit his head. And what I still don't know is if he hit his head on the bark, like on the mulch right there, or if he hit it on the bar of the structure that was right next to it. That was the scariest part for me. So he broke his fall with his left wrist. He swung, fell backwards, his wrist went down like this, and then he hit his head backwards. And this is the scary part for me. When this happened, he whined for a minute and then he stopped crying. I honestly didn't even think anything of it at first. My kids fall all the time. Like, they are rambunctious boys specifically. Not to pull the boy card, because girls can be rambunctious too, but my boys are on another level. Anyone who knows them knows that. Like, they just are go, 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 go. And I let him do it. He falls all the time, and he's gonna fall a lot more. It happens all the time. But this was different. His brothers saw it, ran over to him, and were like, Mom, 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 his arm. And so I run over, and his arm was visibly broken. Like, oh my gosh, to like see my child's arm crooked like that, it was a very obvious break. Immediately, Chris noticed that like his lips were blue, his skin was kind of cold, and he just was still. That's what freaked me out more than anything. The arm, obviously his arm was broken, that's fixable, but the way he was acting terrified me. So I actually, for half of a second, contemplated if I should call an ambulance or if I could get him to the ER faster, because I'm not a medical professional. I have no medical background at all. But with a break like that, with your arm looking like that, why is he not crying? Like, it terrified me. So ultimately, Chris was like, you can get him to the ER faster than an ambulance can get here and take him there. So throw him in the car and just watch him the whole time. So I threw him in the car, buckled him in, and the hospital's like 12 minutes away from our house, so it's not that far at all. The whole time I keep looking back and he's dozing off, like sitting in his car seat, holding his arm, not freaking out, and I'm like freaking out. I'm like, stay awake, don't close your eyes, don't close your eyes. Just like from what I've heard about a concussion, he said he wasn't dizzy. He said he didn't feel like he had to throw up. So I knew those things, but he's also a bad, like he's also he has a super high pain tolerance. He's an overall really tough kid physically. So I don't know if he's like maybe embarrassed and doesn't want to tell me. So I can only assume the worst. And seeing him with his arm crooked and not crying and now falling asleep, I'm just like freaking out even more. So I rushed him over to the hospital. I remember feeling so frustrated because I took him out of the car and I walked him over to where there's this line, because obviously we're in COVID times and you hear all about all of these beds being filled in emergency rooms. So I'm like terrified of that. This line is out the door. So I'm standing there and I'm like trying to be respectful and I'm trying to be patient because everybody there has their own issues. So we're standing there waiting and Landen is standing and he's just like closing his eyes and I start freaking out and I'm like, I don't know what, like, can someone tell me if this is normal? So I walk over to the nurse and he kind of just shooed me away. So I keep standing in line and there's like a security guard that's just like walking the area and I start crying at this point. I don't want Landen to see me crying, but he's freaking me out. Like, I don't know if he's about to pass out. He asked to lay down, so I went and grabbed the wheelchairs that were like right there and I got him a wheelchair and I sat him down in it and he's just sitting there like kind of dozing off. I don't know if he's in and out of consciousness. I don't know if he's just in shock. I have no idea. And I don't know how hard he hit his head. I still don't know if he hit it on the pole or if he just hit it on the mulch. One of the twins said that he thinks he hit it on the pole and the other twin said he thinks that he didn't, and Landen is just silent. Like, he doesn't really have anything to say. I think he's just in shock, but he is saying that his head didn't hurt. So I'm like so mixed right now. I have like my mom intuition going off saying like this is not normal for my kid, but then I have him verbally telling me that he's okay. I'm lost. So I'm standing there and I'm just like kind of like pacing back and forth. Finally, I asked the security guard, because the security guard could tell that I was like, and he's not a nurse obviously, but I told him, I'm like, he hit his head. He looks like he's going in and out of consciousness. Like, is this okay? Is this okay to just like wait right here? Like, should someone see if he has a concussion? And at that point I was honestly, I'm just being totally real with you guys. Anyway, all I can do is just try to make sure that he stays awake. So I just kept telling him like, Landen, don't close your eyes, don't close your eyes. And he's like, I'm not, I'm tired. So after about 10, honestly, it felt a lot longer, but maybe like 10 or 15 minutes, we got up to the very like front where you just like tell him what's wrong. So I explained to him the situation. So they look at his pupils. They mumbled something about his pupils looking off. I couldn't hear what he was saying. I guess he was talking to his coworker, I don't know, but he said something about his pupils and he was like asking him questions and Landen was answering the questions, but they could physically see him like kind of dozing off. The time that this happened was 7:14 p.m. So by the time we got to the hospital, it was like 7:30. By the time we were seen, it was maybe 7:50, 7:45, 7:50. I'm totally just guessing on this. His bedtime is 8:30. So I kept going back and forth in my head, like maybe he's just tired, but also even when Landen's tired, he doesn't stop moving. He's an ADHD kid. Like, let's be real. He never stops moving and he was just still and silent and falling asleep, and it freaked me out more than anything else. So they finally do his vitals and they get him all checked in, and immediately they pull me back to billing, which is like my kid is sitting here and I don't know what's wrong, and all you care about is me paying you. Oh my gosh, this system, I don't know. I'm just being so real with you guys. I was so frustrated, but just silently frustrated because I didn't want to make a scene. I know that ERs are extremely overwhelmed. Medical professionals in the ERs, I cannot, my hats go off to you. But in this moment of seeing my son not acting normal and no one acting urgently, like, it was so scary. So we did all that. At this point, the billing lady was like, oh, just go take a seat over there and like, we'll get you when you can. And she's like, just let us know if he's acting abnormal. And I'm like, he's acting abnormal. I've told 3 people now that he's acting abnormal. This is not normal for him. And she just kind of looked at me. And so I asked her, I'm like, at what point is it a concern for you guys that he's acting abnormal? Because you guys are telling me to tell you if he's not acting right, and he's not acting right. He hasn't been since he hit his head. And she's like, well, I don't know, let me ask the nurse. So she brings the same nurse back in and asks him like what signs I should look for. And he's like, well, like if he's getting sleepy. And I'm like, I told you he's getting sleepy. He's sitting there rolling his eyes in the back of his head. I actually ended up taking a video because I feel like no one was believing me. I took a video of him sitting there just like falling asleep. Stay awake, Kaden. You don't close your eyes.
I know.
Are you okay? You're not dizzy? And so he kind of just like looked at him and he like looked at me. And again, I am trying not to freak out. I'm not causing a scene. I'm just very concerned. And the nurse was like, well, you know, if he falls asleep and you can't wake him up, then let me know. And I remember saying at this point, I don't want Landen to see me crying, but I have like tears going underneath my mask. And I'm like, well, shouldn't we do something before that? And he just stared at me and he looked helpless. And I know it's just because these emergency rooms are just so overwhelmed with everything going on. It's like there's nothing they can do. They want to help the kid, but there's nothing that they can do. Oh my gosh. Not to make this a thing, but get the vaccine, you guys. Oh my God. They're just so overwhelmed with patients. So they shoo me back into the waiting room, and that's when I took the video of him. And I think the nurse seeing me silently kind of sitting there crying and worried and asking very valid questions, he could see the concern on my face. And I kept telling them, I'm like, he hasn't cried, and look at his arm. Like, what 7-year-old doesn't cry when his arm looks like this? So anyway, eventually they brought him back to see the doctor, and the doctor asked him a bunch of questions. She asked him, when's his birthday? What's his name? Where's he at? He knew the answers to everything except where he was at. And he was just kind of slow to respond, which I know they don't know him, so they might think that that's normal for him. But to me, I'm just sitting there like, this is not normal at all. She did like an exam on him and like touched the back of his head and like checked his eyes and did all this stuff. And so ultimately she said that there was no visible signs of him having like a brain bleed or a concussion or anything like that, but that they're gonna immediately pull him back and do a CT scan just in case. And so this doctor was amazing, and all the staff back there, I feel like once we like got into the back, it was really slow, but the staff was really amazing, so I was grateful for that. The doctor was just so sweet, and she took it very seriously. So they pulled him back and did a CT scan right away. Meanwhile, I'm terrified as a mom, thinking that there could be something wrong. But then on top of that, like, Landen is doing nothing but just asking questions. He's not crying, he's not freaking out. There's this big huge machine. They told him he has to lay down and like go back, and his head's gonna go in it, and you could see the concern all over his face that he was scared, but he did not shed a tear. He just asked questions. He's like, is this gonna hurt? And they're like, no, it's not gonna hurt. But he completely put his trust into these doctors, and I'm so glad that they were so honest with him too. So they had him lay down on the bed and then did a scan of his head, and then immediately after that they pulled him into the x-ray room to get an x-ray of his elbow and of his wrist. They touched his shoulder. He said his shoulder didn't hurt, but they came down here. That's when he said it was getting sore. And then obviously his forearm was very clearly broken. I still am not 100% clear on if it's his wrist or if it's his forearm that's broken, because it looks like it's his forearm, but they were saying wrist. So we're gonna get another evaluation on it. I'll talk about that more in a second. But they took him into the x-ray room, and he did just like, he took tons of pictures of his wrist. They had him like moving his arm. And this whole time I'm so proud of him, because he's like being 100% cooperative. He's not crying, like and you could tell he was in pain. He was just so cooperative. So he's taking all these pictures, and I was standing back obviously like behind the wall or whatever, and I could see all of the scans coming up on the screen. When they got to his wrist, it looked like this. And I am not a medical professional, but that is clearly a broken bone. It did look like a clean break to me, which I've heard is better than like a not, than like there's no pieces anywhere. But again, I'm not an expert, I'm just a mom, and I saw that and I could tell it was not normal. After that's when we played the waiting game again. We sat in the hospital for another, this was the longest part of the waiting, honestly. Maybe 3 hours? About 3 hours of just sitting there waiting for someone to come tell us what the scan said. After we did all the scans and we sat there for a little bit, I think the shock of it started to wear off and he started to act a lot more normal. So that's when he started talking to me. They wouldn't let Chris in the entire time because of COVID. And Chris was like, I'm fully vaccinated, like I have my proof, and they wouldn't let him in. So he sat outside of the hospital for all of these hours, and he ended up going back and bringing him his iPad, and they brought his iPad back to me. And so he was like watching something on his iPad, and that's when he started acting normal again. So at that point I was less nervous. He stopped dozing off. He was acting a lot more like himself. At this point, he wasn't even tired anymore. He started getting a little jittery like he normally is. He's usually like really bouncy and he just like moves and all this stuff. So he started moving a little bit more, but that's when he started complaining about the pain in his arm, which honestly to me, like I felt better knowing that he was feeling the pain, because when he wasn't acting like he was feeling the pain, that scared me more because it should hurt. Look at it, it should hurt. So that's when he was like, oh, my arm hurts, my arm hurts, my arm hurts. A broken arm is fixable. A broken brain, that's scarier, right? Many hours later, they came and gave him medicine. They gave him ibuprofen, and then they gave him a dose of Tylenol after that. For the pain, it's funny because they asked him on a scale of 1 to 10, how much does it hurt? And he's like, well, it hurts a lot, but it doesn't hurt as much as when it just happened. So I'd give it about a 5. The kid definitely has a high pain tolerance. So many more hours waiting, they finally came and brought him a splint, and they like put his arm into, I've actually never seen it before. It was like a long white towel cloth looking thing, and it was like moldable and dry, and they put it around his arm, and then they said it hardens after 10 minutes. So it was really cool. Finally, the doctor came back with the results, and she was like, well, obviously it's broken. Good news is that it's a very clean break. He only broke one of the 2 bones right there, so you can see that this bone is intact, and then this bone is the broken one. So it could have been a lot worse if he broke both bones, or if the break didn't look the way that it did. She said kids are extremely resilient, and their bones are extremely resilient. She said she compared it to like cartilage almost. She's like, this is honestly, she says she sees 4 to 5 of these a day. They're easy to break, but they're also very easy to be put back together. So she's not super concerned about it. As far as the results from the CT scan, everything came back perfect. That is when I finally was better. I still don't know what happened. I don't know. I'm thinking maybe it was just the shock of everything to him. I don't know why his lips were white and why his skin was cold and why he was acting like that. But I mean, shock can do that to you. Having something traumatizing happen to you like that and being in that much pain. I remember for myself, when I had Addie and the twins, when you are in the most pain of your entire life, I remember being in the most pain of my entire life. Specifically, like after I had Addelyn and they had to like go in there and they were trying to get the placenta out. Afterwards, like all hell was breaking loose, and I remember just sitting there and being silent. I can only imagine what my face looked like. So I mean, sometimes if you're just scared, it does that to you. I don't know. Has anyone else had an experience like this? Because that's what scared me more than anything else. We finally got released at around 1 a.m. and brought him back home. They said that the next steps are to contact his pediatrician. They're referring him to a children's hospital to see an orthopedic surgeon, which is like a special bone doctor, and they're gonna make sure that he doesn't need anything like surgery. So at this time, at the point of filming this, we don't know anything else. We have a follow-up with his pediatrician to see, I don't even know what they're gonna do. I don't know, I have no idea. So that is the story of how Landen broke his wrist or his forearm. I still don't really know what the correct term is. I'll find that out soon. What an emotional roller coaster it's been over the last 24 hours, but I am just so thankful that it's just a bone. It's not the first, and I'm sure it's not going to be the last. It's just crazy that it's been him. This is his second bone that he's broken, and he's 7. Oh, my child. It doesn't surprise me that it's him though. I'm just glad he's okay. So this morning he woke up, he said he slept fine. He's been saying his wrist hurts, obviously, but other than that, he's been almost completely himself. He actually thinks it's really cool. He wants me to print out a picture of his broken bone so he can show his friends at his school and show his teachers at his school. So this kid is he's something else, man. In the middle of of all this happening, I was like, I'm gonna get you ice cream after this, I'm gonna buy you a toy. Like I'm saying all the things, right? Like in my head, I'm just anything to think that I can try to make him feel better. So after we left the hospital, he was like, can we go to Target now? And I'm like, it's 1 a.m. So I promised him we would go in the morning. So he woke up this morning and he was like, can we go now? And I'm like, yes, buddy, we can go now. Go get you a toy, go get you a donut. And that brings you up to date. So he has been talking about this since yesterday. He's been eyeballing this boat. Ooh, it's a Spider-Man RC car. That's kind of cool. He obviously didn't go to school today, but only because we got home so late. I think he'll be fine to go to school tomorrow. I just didn't want to send him to school after all of the trauma of yesterday and then not sleeping well. So obviously he's home with us. They did give him a doctor's note. The next thing we need to get is a cast cover for him so he could finally take a bath. We just looked here at Target, but they don't have any.
So if we don't find one at like Walgreens, we can try stopping at that medical store. And then worst comes to worst, we can order.
And have it tomorrow.
We'll have it tomorrow.
Okay. We just got done at Target. Stop number 2, he's been looking forward to getting a donut. It was honestly like the saddest thing. He doesn't complain about it at all. But I was like, I'll get you, yeah, you needed a mask. I was like, I'll get you a donut and I'll get you a toy. And then when we left, he was like, are we gonna go get a donut and a toy? Mind you, it's 1 in the morning. And I was like, dude, it's 1 a.m. Everything is closed. And he was like, okay, but can we go in the morning? And I was like, yes, baby, we can go in the morning. Let's go get your donut, buddy.
I know.
I'm coming, I'm coming. He's so independent, like he just wants to do everything himself.
Yeah, he buckles.
Yeah, he doesn't want help buckling his seatbelt. I'm like, bro. I'm gonna attempt his first bath, and we just ordered him the sling for his arm, but it's not gonna be here until tomorrow. But he really wants to take a bath, so we're going to do the good old garbage bag trick. Last time he broke his arm, he had that like little arm piece, and I think I actually got rid of it very recently, like super recently, because I was like, oh, I'm not gonna need this. Okay, so you still don't put it in the water, keep it out of the water, but that should help. Look at it, it's working.